This video is key area 2.3, hormone control. So we're going to have a look at how hormones are in the body. Now to do that, we're going to look at something that you may or may not have heard of, and it's this term here, endocrine system. Oh, I've got a huge pen here, I'm going to sort that. Just look for a short one. Your endocrine system is a network of glands in your body, and we'll have a look at where they are in a moment, and they release hormones into the bloodstream. So what is an endocrine gland? It's a group of tissues that produce hormones. And hormones, this is an important piece of information here, hormones are chemical messengers and they regulate processes within the body. They're released from a specific area, and they're there to target certain tissues that have specific receptors to those hormones. Now you probably, or you may or may not have heard of some of these hormones that are here. Examples of hormones are insulin, adrenaline, testosterone, estrogen, glucagon, ADH, growth hormone and dopamine. And we're going to have a look in particular later on in this video at insulin and at this one here, ADH and glucagon. So whereabouts in your body are these glands? Well, some of them you may or may not have heard of. If you remember when we were doing the brain, then we mentioned the pituitary gland found just below the hypothalamus. It releases this hormone here called ADH, and we'll look at that in more detail later on. You've got the thyroid gland, and that releases a hormone called thyroxine. You've got adrenal glands just above your kidneys here, and they produce the hormone adrenaline. And you've got the pancreas, which releases the hormones insulin and glucagon. There's your pancreas here. In the ovaries, estrogen is released, and in the testes, testosterone is released. And we're going to look in particular, you don't have to know the name of all of these glands that are here. You do need to know about the pituitary gland, and you need to know about the pancreas, and you need to know the names of these hormones that are here, ADH and insulin and glucagon. Let's have a look at hormone control. Now, hormone control works maybe in a similar sort of way to a nerve impulse. There's some sort of stimulus that is detected in the body. It could be that you have a change in your blood sugar concentration or in the levels of water in your bloodstream, and that will trigger a response. And in this case here, that response is the release of a hormone. And then the hormone will then have some sort of effect and correct or change whatever the stimulus has been. Well, it's easier to look at examples of this. So we're going to have a look, first of all, at the effect of insulin on our blood sugar levels. I'm saying the effect of insulin. We'll also be looking at glucagon as well. So, control of blood glucose levels. Blood glucose levels are controlled by these two hormones, insulin and glucagon. Insulin is released from the pancreas, and it's there to, what it does is it converts glucose that's there in the bloodstream into a storage carbohydrate called glycogen. A wee bit like the same as glucose in plants being converted into starch. In animals, glucose isn't stored as starch, glucose is stored as this substance here, glycogen, and that's stored in the liver. Now glucagon, it is released as well from the pancreas, and it stimulates the conversion of glycogen back to glucose, so it reverses this reaction that's here. Now both of these processes occur in the liver, and they're controlled by enzymes. So we're going to look at the process of how these hormones are released and what effect that they have. Look at this diagram here. Over here we're looking at a normal blood glucose concentration. So your glucose concentrations are kept in quite a narrow range, somewhere around about 3.5 to about 5.5 millimoles per litre. It'll go up a bit if you've had a really sugary meal, but not anything much higher than that. And the body does that by keeping your glucose concentrations balanced in the bloodstream, and it does that by using these hormones that we've been talking about. So what happens is, after you've eaten a meal, then your blood concentration is going to start to rise. So you get an increase in blood glucose concentration. Now that change is detected by certain cells that are in the pancreas, receptor cells that in the pancreas. They detect that, and when they detect that, the pancreas releases more insulin into the bloodstream. And so what the insulin will then do is, the insulin will convert that glucose that is there into glycogen. My writing on here isn't very good, so some of my spelling gets a bit jumbled up, but it gets converted into glucose to glycogen, and that glycogen is stored in the liver. So that means that the blood sugar levels, or the blood glucose levels that are there, start to drop down to a normal level, till they're the level that the body is comfortable with. But what happens if you haven't eaten a meal for a long time? Well, of course, your blood glucose levels are going to start to decrease. And in the same way, when that happens, that change is detected by receptor cells in the pancreas. And this time, the pancreas releases glucagon. Into the blood. And that glucagon will in turn convert the glycogen into glucose. So it changes the glycogen into glucose and releases it into the bloodstream, so that it will take the blood sugar levels back up to normal. And that's basically how you keep your blood sugar levels at a normal level. If you don't do that, if your blood sugar decreased a whole lot, and you didn't release this glucagon and convert your glycogen back, your blood sugar levels will get too low, and it results in you going into a coma. Oh, there's the turn up of somebody in my house in the background there. In the same way, if you can control the increase of a blood glucose concentration, then what happens is you can also end up in a coma, or there could be other long-term health issues associated with a high blood sugar as well. Now, if you have a problem with maintaining your blood glucose with the production of insulin, you suffer from a disease called diabetes, and you're going to do a bit of research on that, which is spoken about at the end of this video. So, blood glucose concentration is one type of control of a substance in your body. The other one that we're going to have a look at is looking at the control of blood water concentration, the water concentration in your bloodstream. It's controlled by hormones, and it's controlled by this one here called ADH. Now that's short for antidiuretic hormone. Now a diuretic, you may or may not have heard of that. A diuretic is something that makes you produce a lot of urine. So something that is an antidiuretic is something that makes you produce only small amounts of very concentrated urine. Antidiuretic hormone, as has been mentioned before, is produced in the kidneys, produced in the pituitary gland in the brain, and it targets the kidneys. So it causes the kidneys to produce a small volume of concentrated urine. When would that be useful? Well, obviously in times when you're dehydrated and you want to save water in your body. So let's have a look there. So it's a very similar diagram to the one that we had when we were looking at the blood glucose. But here, we've got a normal blood concentration, normal blood water concentration. And if we increase that blood water concentration, then the brain detects that change. Now, in actual fact, it's the hypothalamus. Oh, I haven't got that spelt right, sorry. I'll do that again so you've got the right spelling. Oh, I thought I'd be able to rub that out. For some reason it's not rubbing out, so I'll write it again. Hypothalamus. Now we talked about this, or you had that labelled when you looked at the brain. So this area called the hypothalamus detects that change in the water concentration, and it communicates with the pituitary gland. And what happens is the pituitary gland will produce less ADH. Remember, ADH makes you produce small volumes of urine. So you want to therefore produce a large volume of urine if you've drunk a lot of water. So therefore you don't want to be producing a lot of ADH. So you produce less ADH, the pituitary gland produces less, and that means that the kidneys will then produce a large volume of very dilute urine. And your blood water concentration goes back to normal. What though if you haven't had a lot to drink and you end up with a decreased water concentration in the blood? Then again the hypothalamus detects that, and so more ADH is produced by the pituitary gland. So that means that more ADH, that means small volume of urine, and that will be concentrated urine. And that means because you're producing small quantities of urine, you're saving water, if you can think of it in terms like that, in your blood. And what happens is your blood water concentration will return to normal. So that's the two clever systems that help to maintain your blood glucose or your blood water concentration. It all happens without you having to think about it. And if this didn't work, then it would result in coma and death. Now, I've got on this next slide looking at researching in diabetes. I said earlier that if we can't control our blood sugar levels, we develop a condition called diabetes. Now your task is to research diabetes. I've got produce a leaflet or an information poster for the class to view, and what you can do is you can always just do one slide on Keynote with the information on it, or you can do it on Pages, whatever you prefer. But I want you to have, or include in it, the types of diabetes. There's different types of diabetes and the effects it has on the body, any causes, any treatments, or how it might affect the lifestyle. And you can make up, if you do a sort of a slide or a Pages document, you can have that information there. You can have types in one part, the effect on the body, causes, treatments, effect on lifestyle. So you've got something that is really put together as a concentrated poster. So you don't want lots and lots of information in these boxes. You just want to hone it down to the key facts. And that is the end of the endocrine system.